Get ready, Yellowstone fans! The Dutton family saga isn't over yet. Spinoffs are coming, and two of the show's biggest stars, Reilly and Hauser, are at the heart of it all. From explosive drama to gripping twists, here's everything we know about the highly anticipated spinoff that will keep you on the edge of your seat. How did Yellowstone end? So, Yellowstone has finally called it a wrap, unless you're Paramount Network, in which case it's just a season finale. But let's be real. This was the endgame. In this packed episode, the Dutton clan fought tooth and nail to protect their land, their legacies, and everything they hold dear. Spoiler alert, not everyone made it out alive. Well, aside from John, who was already 6 feet under thanks to his untimely death earlier in the season. Think you know who didn't survive? Oh, you do. Let's start with Casey, played by Luke Grimes, whose big move sounded a lot more dramatic than it turned out to be. In what could have been mistaken for tax fraud, Casey actually pulled off something surprisingly heartfelt. He invited Rainwater, played by Gil Birmingham, over and made him an offer. The reservation could buy the Yellowstone Ranch for $1.25 an acre. That's the same amount it would have cost the Duttons to buy it back in the day, if they'd actually bought it. Sure, that was a hefty sum back then, but for Rainwater, it's chump change now, especially with much friendlier taxes compared to the ranch's current bloated value. The deal came with a promise: no development, no selling, just preservation. Plus, Casey got to keep his slice of the East Camp. Throw in the mysterious overnight sabotage of that looming pipeline, and Rainwater's day couldn't have been better. Meanwhile, Beth was making moves of her own. She snagged a chunk of land for herself, Rip, played by Hauser, and Carter, played by Finn Little. Rip and the ranch hands took on the sad task of digging a grave for John's coffin, now resting on tribal land. The Duttons held a small, intimate service with just family, ranch hands, and a few close friends. Beth had her moment to shed tears for her father, wondering if he'd approve of the choices she and Casey had made. Sure, the ranch won't have cattle anymore, but there also won't be any condos, and in her eyes, that's a win. And because Beth is Beth, she capped her heartfelt moment by whispering to the coffin, "I will avenge you." Oh, the drama. As for Jamie, played by Wes Bentley, the family's estranged adopted son, yeah, he didn't get the invite. While the rest of the Duttons were mourning, Jamie was busy rehearsing for his press conference speech, blissfully unaware of the storm heading his way. Enter Beth, who swapped her funeral attire for her ready-to-throw-down outfit, jeans, a t-shirt, boots, and, oh yeah, a knife. She sped off towards Jamie's place, with Rip chasing after her once he realized what was about to go down. Predictably, Beth didn't listen to Rip's pleas to stop. She burst into Jamie's house and unleashed chaos, armed with pepper spray and what may or may not have been a tire iron. Jamie fought back, and when he learned the ranch had been sold to the reservation, essentially nuking all his tourism dreams, he almost strangled Beth. But Rip swooped in just in time. Beth, true to form, got the last word by stabbing Jamie in the stomach. Rip then hauled the not-so-lucky Attorney General off to the infamous train station, aka that sketchy, uninhabited canyon just over the Wyoming border. To cover it all up, Beth told authorities that Jamie attacked her and fled. Conveniently, Jamie's car was later found burned to a crisp in Idaho, with just enough evidence to make her story stick. The finale wrapped up with a Lainey Wilson concert, yes, Abby herself, followed by a bittersweet montage of Rip, Beth, and Casey wandering through the ranch one last time. The iconic Yellowstone Dutton Ranch sign came down, the main house was dismantled, and reservation workers started erasing all traces of the Duttons. In a final twist, some kids decided to topple the gravestones in the old, definitely illegal Dutton cemetery, until Mo, played by Mo Brings Plenty, came out to scold them and set things right. Side note, why were those gravestones so flimsy in the first place? The last word belonged to Elsa Dutton, played by Isabel May, the narrator from 1883 and 1923. Her voiceover confirmed that the seven-generation promise made in 1883 had been fulfilled. The land was back in the hands of the reservation, protected forever, no airports, no tourists, no nonsense. In the end, the supersized finale felt long and, at times, a little slow. The rushed half-season didn't do the pacing any favors, but let's face it, Yellowstone was always going to end this way. And honestly, could it have been any more anti-tourist? Probably not. Despite the sad note of the finale, commercially, it ended on a big high. Yellowstone broke all records. Yellowstone went out on a high note, capping off its epic run with a record-breaking series finale. The much-anticipated episode titled Life is a Promise aired on December 15th, 2024, and drew in 11.4 million viewers across Paramount Network and CMT, marking the largest audience the neo-Western series has ever seen. The finale was part of Season 5B, which not only delivered the most watched episodes, but also generated the most buzz on social media, outperforming Season 5A by 4% in viewership and doubling engagement on platforms like Twitter and Instagram. Yep, Sheridan racked in a lot of money with the finale, and he's not done yet. As Yellowstone closes this chapter, fans have much to look forward to. 1923, the prequel series starring Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, is set to return for its second season in February 2025. Additionally, The Madison, a standalone extension of the franchise, will debut next year. This series, starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Patrick J. Adams, shifts the focus to a New York family navigating grief and healing in Montana's Madison River Valley. Though there's talk of a potential Yellowstone Season 6, Paramount Network is reportedly putting its energy into these new spin-offs. This shift helps the company keep the franchise within its ecosystem, especially since the main series is tied to an exclusive streaming deal with NBC Universal's Peacock. It seems the Dutton saga isn't going anywhere just yet, just in a different form. And honestly, it makes sense. The fulfilling finale shows that Sheridan can tell a story, especially when he makes every moment a full prophetic circle. The finale delivered promises and fulfilled visions. Beth Dutton didn't hold back when she finally fulfilled her promise to Jamie in one of the most iconic Yellowstone moments ever. As she smashes him with a crowbar, she spits out, "When I make a promise, I fucking keep it." This comes right after Jamie almost kills her, but in classic Beth style, she turns the tables. Rip swoops in to help, and Beth gets the final say with a brutal knife stab to Jamie, forcing him to look at her as he dies. "I'm gonna be the last thing you ever fucking see," she snarls, a savage callback to her words from Season 5, Episode 10, when she told him, "Seeing me will be the last thing you ever do alive, and I will be smiling." Talk about a full circle moment. But Beth's not the only one keeping promises. Rainwater also delivers on a vow he made to John Dutton years ago. Early in the show, Rainwater promised to take back the Yellowstone Ranch and restore it to its original state. "I made a promise to your father once that I would one day have this land and return it to the state that man found it," he tells Casey. Over time, he comes to see the land as sacred, not just for his people, but for the Duttons too. "This land is sacred," he acknowledges, and true to his word, we watch him keep that promise, tearing down the Yellowstone buildings brick by brick. Casey, feeling the weight of his choices, shares his visions with Rainwater and Mo. "My vision told me of two paths. On one, my family, on the other, the ranch. I could only save one." But he soon realizes the answer isn't so simple. "I used to think that meant only one could be saved. Then I realized it only meant that I couldn't save the ranch, but you can." After sealing the deal with Rainwater, Casey, Monica, and Mo witness a wolf building a den in the field. Mo, always with the wise words, says, "Guess he likes it here too." Monica, still mourning the loss of her chicken coop, gets a little comfort from Mo. "You won't have any problems with that wolf. That one ain't real," he quips. When Monica wonders how they can see it, Mo simply replies, "Guess it's our vision too now." And let's not forget that 1883 connection. Remember when Spotted Eagle gave James Dutton Paradise Valley as he searched for a place to bury Elsa? "In 7 generations, my people will rise up and take it back from you," Spotted Eagle warned. Fast forward, and Elsa's narration over the final Yellowstone montage brings it all full circle. Raw land, wild land, free land can never be owned, but some men pay dearly for its stewardship. They will suffer and sacrifice to live off it and live with it, and hopefully teach the next generation to do the same. It's the perfect wrap-up to a show about land, legacy, and the fight for both, tying the Dutton family's history to the past, present, and future in the most satisfying way. However, many fans were left upset at the end of the day. Disappointed with the finale's ending, they are done with Yellowstone. They believe that show was done for when Kevin Costner left the franchise, and ultimately, that move ruined Yellowstone's ending. But the people behind the show disagree. The conclusion was inevitable. Yellowstone director and executive producer Christina Voros spilled the tea on how Kevin Costner's shocking exit shook up the show's big finale. Costner's departure threw a wrench in the plans, forcing the team to make some big adjustments to the ending. Instead of focusing on John John, the spotlight shifted to his kids, Beth, Casey, and even Jamie. Despite the curveball, Sheridan stuck to his long-term vision, pulling off an ending that tied things together as best as possible. In an interview with TV Insider, Voros revealed that the main idea behind Yellowstone's ending had been in place for a while, even before Costner decided to leave. However, she admitted that some parts of the finale had to change after losing John Dutton III. She also dropped a hint for fans: go back and rewatch Yellowstone and its sequels, 1883 and 1923, because the clues about how it all ends have been there all along. The what of the end of the season was always planned, Voros explained, saying that while the overall direction didn't change, they had to tweak how they got there after Costner left. The how may have needed to be adjusted. Taylor has always known what the ending of this legacy was. She added that she wasn't exactly sure how Costner's exit changed Sheridan's approach, but was confident he always had a clear destination in mind for the story. Voros also pointed to 1883 and 1923 as key pieces of the puzzle. She said that if you dig into those shows, you'll find plenty of breadcrumbs about the Dutton family's future. There are clues about the generational legacy and the destiny of the land, she explained, teasing that fans with sharp eyes could spot clear proof that Yellowstone's conclusion wasn't a random decision. Instead, it's the final chapter in a much bigger story about the Duttons and their legacy. The finale was satisfying. The Yellowstone finale brought the Dutton family's long dramatic story full circle with a mix of emotions and some big surprises. Casey made the bold move to hand over the Dutton Ranch to the Broken Rock Reservation, becoming the master of the old prophecy. Beth, of course, had been doing everything in her power to save the ranch. The massive inheritance taxes after John's death made it nearly impossible to hold on to, and with him gone, their options were slim. John, who was Montana's governor before he died, spent years fighting off threats to the ranch, but stubbornly refused to compromise, even when Beth pushed him to consider deals that might have secured the land for future generations. While his iron will defined him, it also left his kids with no choice but to make the tough call. Casey's decision wasn't just practical, it was symbolic. Giving the land to the reservation meant the ranch would stay as it was, untouched by developers or greedy corporations, which was John's ultimate dream. Seeing the land go back to the reservation was a powerful moment for fans, especially since it connected so deeply to the show's prequels, 1883 and 1923. It reinforced the idea that the Dutton legacy was always tied to the land and its history, even if it meant the family itself had to let go. But not every storyline in the finale landed the same way. Jamie, one of the most layered and controversial characters on the show, got sidelined in the final episodes. He barely showed up, and his long-anticipated face-off with Beth felt rushed and disappointing. Fans had been waiting for that showdown for ages, but it didn't pack the punch it deserved. Jamie's ending felt like an afterthought, which was frustrating considering how central he had been to the family's drama. Yeah, the Jamie arc didn't end well, but at least it was conclusive. You see, Sheridan deliberately kept the ending for some characters ambiguous to make another spin-off or two. And there's one storyline that the fans are literally hungry for. If Sheridan makes a spin-off, fans want to know what would happen to Casey and Monica. Possible spin-offs. Instead of continuing with a 6th season of Yellowstone, Taylor Sheridan could take the story in a fresh direction by creating a new spin-off centered on Casey's next chapter at East Camp in Paradise Valley. As part of his deal with Chief Rainwater, Casey and his family are allowed to keep their home on the Yellowstone property, where they'll seemingly start their own ranch. This setup opens endless possibilities to follow Casey, Monica, and Tate as they carve out their own legacy, making a name for themselves in this new venture. It would be fascinating to see how they handle the challenges of running their own operation while staying connected to the land's rich history. That said, since Casey and his family are still technically living on the Yellowstone property, Paramount might choose to greenlight a season 6 with Luke Grimes and Kelsey Asby reprising their roles. This could naturally continue the story without veering too far from the original series. It makes sense within the narrative framework and would give fans more time with the Dutton legacy, even in its new phase. However, if Sheridan and Paramount are ready to officially close the book on Yellowstone but still want to explore Casey's story, a spin-off could be the perfect solution. Shifting focus to Casey, Monica, and Tate would allow the franchise to evolve while keeping a connection to the beloved characters fans have invested in. A new series could highlight the family's growth, their trials as ranchers, and their efforts to honor the land's legacy, all while forging a fresh path outside of the Dutton family saga. But for now, we have to settle for a different story altogether. Yep, if everything goes smoothly, one power couple of Yellowstone would be making a comeback sooner than you realize. The confirmed spin-off. If you think the drama-packed conclusion of Yellowstone was the end of the Dutton saga, think again. A spin-off series centered on Rip Wheeler, played by Hauser, and Beth Dutton, is reportedly in development at the Paramount Network. With Taylor Sheridan at the helm, there's already a buzz about what this new chapter could bring. Season 5's finale perfectly sets the stage for a continuation, giving Rip and Beth a fresh start and plenty of room to grow their story. Over the course of Yellowstone, Rip and Beth slowly built the unconventional family they never thought they could have. Their journey to marriage was full of fiery moments, but once they tied the knot, their future felt solid. Things took an emotional turn in Season 4 with the introduction of Carter, played by Finn Little, adding a layer of depth to their lives. By the time the oversized finale, Life is a Promise, aired, it not only tied up the main series neatly, but also gave Rip and Beth a launch pad for their next adventure. Early in Season 5B, it seemed like Rip and Beth might make a permanent move down south to Texas. However, Beth's purchase of a working ranch west of Dillon, Montana, shifted the narrative. This move lets them stay rooted in Montana, far from the corporate vultures like market equities that have plagued the Duttons for years. The finale's final shot lingers on this simpler life, showing Rip, Beth, and Carter carving out their own path on a modest ranch. It's a poetic return to what Rip loves most, life on the ranch and, of course, life with Beth. The prospect of a Rip and Beth spinoff offers an exciting chance to break new ground. Instead of retreading the soapy land-protecting drama of Yellowstone, this series could dive deeper into authentic cowboy life. With the corporate threats and high-stakes villains like the Beck brothers or market equities out of the picture, the spinoff could shift its focus to building a ranch from scratch. This would allow Sheridan to tell a more grounded, gritty story, showing the challenges of ranching and preserving a fading cowboy legacy. What makes this idea so intriguing is how it could differentiate itself from Yellowstone and its growing family of spin-offs like 1923, 1944, and The Madison. While those series expand the Dutton family's historical saga, the Rip and Beth sequel could strip things back to basics. It could be a show about resilience, family, and the raw beauty of working the land, a reflection of what many fans hoped Yellowstone might be when it first began. Whether the sequel leans into the grit of cowboy life or explores the family dynamics of Rip, Beth, and Carter, one thing is certain: fans are ready to saddle up for more. With Taylor Sheridan at the reins, this new chapter promises to honor the spirit of the original while blazing its own trail. For now, all we can do is wait and see where this new adventure takes us. After all, Yellowstone won't be Yellowstone if it ends things on a happy note. No happy endings. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, producer Christina Voros shed light on why a spin-off centered on Beth and Rip feels like the natural next step for the Yellowstone saga. The spin-off, which is practically a done deal at this point, aligns perfectly with Taylor Sheridan's knack for crafting layered characters and his refusal to tie up stories with neat, overly optimistic conclusions. Voros reflected on Sheridan's storytelling philosophy, saying, "In the world of Taylor's storytelling, happy endings are hard-fought. There aren't a lot of them. He does not write stories about marvelous things happening to people." She went on to suggest that the idea of Rip and Beth riding off into the sunset might not feel entirely realistic within the gritty universe Sheridan has built. One has to ask yourself, if there was never another word of dialogue spoken between Rip and Beth, could we imagine that everything went great for them for the rest of their lives? Sure, but it's unlikely. No wonder that a spin-off for Beth and Rip came naturally. Plus, Kelly Reilly isn't done with the Yellowstone universe. Not just yet. Kelly Reilly wasn't ready to say goodbye. Before the final episode of Yellowstone aired, Kelly Reilly took to Instagram to reflect on her time working with Taylor Sheridan and the entire Yellowstone crew. In her post, she expressed deep gratitude for the 7 years spent bringing the series to life, even though she was already immersed in another role in the UK. Reilly shared, "I'm so deep into another role at the moment about another land worth fighting for in the UK, but across the pond, the finale is happening tonight. Whatever the future holds, this is the ending of the show we have been making for the past 7 years." She went on to explain the profound impact the role had on her, emphasizing how her experience on the show had shaped her both personally and professionally. "Words cannot convey how I feel about the people I got to work and create with over the seasons. I have made true lifelong friends, the support from the crew, and the trust and dedication of the cast. The words I got to say and the woman I got to inhabit, it changed me. It lit me up. It challenged me in every way possible, and I will forever be grateful for it." Reilly also took a moment to thank Taylor Sheridan directly for his role in her journey, adding, For Taylor Sheridan, who took a chance on me and continued to write her in ways I got to feel on fire as an actor. Thank you, Taylor. Speaking to Collider's Carly Lane before the final season dropped, Reilly opened up about her hopes for continuing as Beth, should Sheridan choose to bring her back. There's a lot of rumor mill over the years, so much stuff that's just not true that's been written, and you're like, where has this come from? She said. Until Taylor Sheridan comes to us both, he's written every single word we've said for 7 years, and if he's inspired to write something for us, then great, and if not, this is a beautiful ending. It seems like for Reilly, if Sheridan calls her back, she's more than ready to return, and well, who are we to say no to that exciting possibility? But of course, if Sheridan wants the spinoff to work, he needs to bring some drama to Beth's world, especially when she committed a major crime. Will Beth get away with Jamie's murder? By the time Yellowstone reaches its explosive finale, Jamie Dutton is no longer just a thorn in Beth's side, he's become a legitimate threat, one that can't be allowed to live. The tension between the two reaches its boiling point, and Beth finally decides to carry out the promise she's made to avenge their father's death. In the final showdown, Beth attacks Jamie in his home, but the fight takes an unexpected turn when Jamie manages to overpower her in a brutal hand-to-hand battle. However, this is all part of the plan. Just when things seem dire, Rip arrives at the last moment to save her, taking Jamie down and holding him long enough for Beth to stab him to death. Beth quickly spins a cover story, telling authorities that Jamie attacked her first, leaving her with no choice but to defend herself. The police buy into this version of events, especially after Beth presents them with damning evidence that links Jamie to the death of John Dutton. However, as with everything in Yellowstone, things are never as simple as they seem. The investigation into Jamie's death is far from over, and if the truth about Beth's actions come to light, her new life with Rip could be on the line. The Duttons may have come out on top for now, but the consequences of their decisions are far from settled. So yeah, maybe the spinoff would answer this major question. All we can do right now is to wait. Are you excited about a Yellowstone spinoff? Let us know in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel.